determination, and desire. They were trademarks of the legendary racer Dick Hammer. In 2000, a special perpetual trophy was created, and Dick Hammer was the first recipient. The award became a Trailblazers tradition in 2002, and it has been part of the annual banquet ever since. The Dick Hammer Award is the club's highest honor and is bestowed annually to previous Trailblazers Hall of Fame inductees. This year, we honor Don Emde, a trailblazer who is the embodiment of drive, determination, and desire, and has exhibited these traits throughout his motorcycling career. Don Emde was born on February 16, 1951, and you could say that he and his siblings were predestined for a life on two wheels. Their father, Floyd, had been a top all-around racer in the 1940s, with numerous West Coast victories to his credit, as well as AMA Nationals at Milwaukee and the 1948 Daytona 200. Floyd would go on to be inducted later into the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame, as was Don and his younger brother, David. Along with the Davidsons and the Pentons, the Emdes are the only other family with 3 or more AMA Hall of Fame inductees. Additionally, Don's older brother Bob was an Ascot regular in the early 1960s and won the amateur final at the 1963 Ascot 8-Mile National. Sister Nancy raced TTs in her younger years. Then her and her husband Chris Stewart operated Trail Boss Tours in Baja for over 15 years. And Nancy is currently a member of the Trailblazers Board of Directors. When Don was growing up, the Emde family lived in National City, where his folks had their first motorcycle dealership. They later added locations in downtown San Diego and the State College area, selling BSA, Suzuki, and other brands of motorcycles and mini bikes. Don's first motorcycle was a 165cc Harley-Davidson that Santa Claus brought on Christmas Day of 1962. In 1966, Floyd built a 97cc Suzuki race bike for Don to ride in the San Diego area TTs. He progressed up the District 38 ranks in 1967, riding a Bultaco Libido in the 100cc class and a Suzuki twin-pipe TM250 that he rode to many 250 class victories in 1967 and 68. In 1968, he also began road racing in West Coast AFM events on a 250cc Suzuki X6 that Floyd bought from US Suzuki. It was one of the first factory team bikes from 1967 that had been ridden by Dick Hammer, the namesake of the award Don is receiving tonight. Don turned 18 in 1969 and was eligible to get his AMA Novice Professional license. He expected to ride Suzukis for dirt track and road racing until Floyd got a call one day from Mel Dennison, a Yamaha and Honda dealer from Bakersfield. Mel had seen Don ride in 1968 and was familiar with Floyd's racing history. He offered to provide race bikes for Don, not only for AMA Novice races, but the entire AFM West Coast Club Racing Series. That would include bikes to ride 4 classes a day at all the AFM races. With Mel handling all Don's needs in road racing, Floyd could focus 100% on the dirt track side. In 1969, Don would go on to win the novice final at the AMA Indianapolis Road Race National and take second at Loudon. It was at the AFM races, though, where he really made news. Riders were not divided by experience like AMA events. That meant that Don was now racing and soon winning on Yamaha 250s and 350s against top AMA pros like Jody Nicholas, Ron Grant, Ron Pierce, and many more. He also rode a 100cc Hodaka road racer and stock 350cc Yamaha production bikes to many class victories as well. When the season ended, Don had won both the AFM 250cc and 350cc class championships and was the overall AFM National Road Racing Champion, earning the AFM #1 plate for 1970. Also in 1969, Floyd built a Suzuki 250 flat track bike for Don to race at Ascot. It had a factory-type square-barrel TR250 engine in a rigid sonic weld frame and no brakes. Don and Floyd would make the trip north from San Diego on Friday nights to the half mile at Ascot, where Don won 12 novice main events that year and finished second in Ascot novice points behind K&N Yamaha rider Freddie Edwards. John Hately was third. In 1970, Don was promoted to AMA Pro Amateur and AMA Pro Expert at the same time. The AMA felt his success in AFM road racing was proof that he should move up directly to the expert class in road racing, but he needed more dirt track experience racing the big bikes. Thus, he was issued the first ever split AMA Pro license, with the words typed on his amateur license, Expert RR only. He proved the AMA was right, finishing third in the 250cc race at Kent, Washington, third in both the 250cc race and the 100-mile national at Loudon, and then won the 100-mile 250cc race at Talladega, beating Gary Nixon and Cal Rayborn. For dirt track that year, Floyd built Don two 650cc BSA A65s in Trackmaster frames. Don started traveling to the AMA Nationals and would race at Ascot when he could, and won some Ascot amateur mains. At the end of the season, Don won the Pacific Coast TT Championship race at Ascot in the amateur class, beating John Haitley and finishing second to Haitley at Ascot in the Pacific Coast Flat Track Championship race. Don also won the amateur final at the Oklahoma City AMA National. Having proved he could win at road racing, flat track, and TT racing, Don was an ideal prospect for the multifaceted Grand National Championship, which employed all of those skills toward the #1 plate. In 1971, Don became the fourth member of the BSA factory team, joining David Aldana, Dick Mann, and Jim Rice. Don became an instant contender at the AMA Road Race Nationals. His first race on a factory BSA 750 triple resulted in a third-place finish in the Daytona 200 behind BSA Triumph teammates Dick Mann and Gene Romero.
Dick Mann is the Daytona 200 winner for the second year in a row with a record speed of 104.737 miles per hour on a BSA Rocket 3. Gene Romero is in second place on a Triumph Trident, with Don Emde finishing third on yet another BSA Rocket 3.
He also finished third that year at the Kent and Talladega Nationals, and top 10 at all other road races except Ontario with motor problems. Don ended the season ranked third in road racing points, scoring behind Mann and Kel Carruthers, and he was 11th overall in national points. He was also a member of the American BSA and Triumph team, making the trip to England to participate in the first ever transatlantic match races. Don would have been happy racing for BSA for the rest of his career, but following BSA Triumph's major financial cutback at the end of the season, he and most of the riders were cut loose. Only BSA's Dick Mann and Triumph's Gene Romero were kept for 1972. In 1972, Don then rejoined with his old sponsor Mel Dennison, who he had great success with, winning the AFM Road Racing Championship in 1969. And together, they made history by winning the 1972 Daytona 200 aboard Dennison's privately entered 350cc Yamaha TR3. It was a great victory and set many milestones in Daytona 200 history. Since Floyd had won Daytona in 1948, the Emdes became the first and still only father and son to have both won the Daytona 200. Also, the 350cc Yamaha TR3 was the smallest engine size to ever win the Daytona 200. It was also the first two-stroke and first Yamaha to win the race. Later that year, Don was invited to participate in numerous international events, including the 1972 Transatlantic Match Race Series, Imola 200-mile Formula 750 race, the 1972 Race of the Year at Mallory Park, and a month-long Pan-Pacific Match Race Series in Australia. Returning home near the end of 1972, Don married the love of his life, Tracy Jeffries, on November 12th. Then Don got back to racing and rode a factory Suzuki 750 at Daytona and finished 7th. He then started scaling back his racing and retired at the end of the 1973 season. After working for his parents in their stores in the San Diego area for a few years, Don was hired in 1977 by the Super Sear Goggle Company, and Don quickly expanded their involvement in motocross, with many top riders making the switch to Super Sear, including Brock Glover, who went on to win the 125cc National Motocross Championship. Then Tracy, Don, and young son Jeffrey moved to Orange County, California, where Don got a job selling ads for Motorcycle Dealer News magazine, owned by Larry Hester and Bill Bagnall, who was also president of the Trailblazers. In 1980, Don got an offer from Bell Helmets to join them as national sales manager. By 1984, Don and Tracy had 2 children, Jeffrey and Jennifer, and he was vice president of sales and marketing at Bell, overseeing all motorcycle, bicycle, auto, and racing departments. In 1985, Don was hired by a large publishing company who had purchased Motorcycle Dealer News and became the publisher of that title. A notable accomplishment in 1986 was to bring together many leaders of the motorcycle industry to a conference to discuss ways to turn around a rapid decline in motorcycle industry sales. Industry veteran Don Brown was a keynote speaker of the current situation, and together, Don Brown and Don Emde led a 2-day brainstorming process to identify causes and possible solutions. The consensus of the conference was the image of motorcycling was the problem, seen by the public as reckless and dangerous. An image enhancement campaign was proposed, and the Motorcycle Industry Council should manage it. The MIC initially hesitated due to budget issues, so Brown and Emde met personally with the top U.S. management at Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha, with a proposal that would result in agreements for each to kick in $100,000 for the campaign that later became known as the MIC Discover Today's Motorcycling, or DTM. The DTM program went on for many years, promoting a positive image for motorcycling, and the result was motorcycle sales in the United States reversing the downward direction and increasing significantly in the years to come. In 1990, Don started his own business, publishing a monthly paid subscription dealer newsletter called the Emde Report, and he completed and self-published his first book about the history of the Daytona 200. The Daytona 200 book was a big hit, and within a year, it was sold out. He decided to create a new magazine focused on the growing popularity of vintage bikes called Motorcycle Collector Magazine. People loved the magazine, but there weren't enough companies that could support the advertising needed to pay the printing bill. Fred Fox, the founder of Parts Unlimited, was a friend and advertiser in Motorcycle Collector Magazine. Don made a proposal to Fred, and he published magazines for him to send out to his drag specialties and Parts Unlimited dealers. Fred loved the idea, and in 1993, Don launched the publication, which continues today in its 32nd year. Through the years, Don's wife Tracy Emde has been the copy editor for all book and magazine productions, and daughter Jen Rose is the production manager and bookkeeper, and son Jeff Emde is the digital media manager. Don has received many awards and recognition for his lifetime of achievements. He was inducted into the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 1999 and the Trailblazers Hall of Fame in 2000, the Sturgis Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 2011. He won Best Book of the Year honors in 2019 by the Motor Press Guild for his book, The Speed Kings, and he was the recipient of the Arlen Ness Lifetime Achievement Award at the Sturgis Rally in 2022. Don served on the board of directors and chairman of the AMA Motorcycle Heritage Foundation from 1988 to 2001 and was a key player on creating the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame Museum in Ohio. He also served on the board of directors of the Motorcycle Industry Council for 15 years. Don has been involved with the Trailblazers since 1985. He first began attending banquets with his parents, Florence and Floyd. Then President Bill Bagnall eventually brought him onto the Trailblazers board of directors, and Don has served as president 3 different times, 94 to 96, 2002 to 2005, and 2012 to the present. That's 40 years as a Trailblazer and 18 years as president, ensuring that the annual Trailblazers Hall of Fame banquet is the highlight of the year. Don owns a few old and historic motorcycles, but his main focus of preserving motorcycle history is his collection of old books, magazines, and photography dating back into the late 1800s. Along the way, he has written and published 6 motorcycle history books, along with various side projects. His 7th book, to be released in 2025, will be a biography of Don's father, titled Flying Floyd, The Motorcycling Life of Floyd Emde. All of Don's books are carefully researched and vetted. Finding Cannonball's Trail, for example, was the result of 2 years of research and discovery rides with fellow Trailblazers director Joe Colombero to locate and retrace Cannonball Baker's 1914 transcontinental ride from San Diego to New York. It was all documented and followed in 2014 with the Cannonball Centennial Ride on the 100th anniversary of Baker's ride. For his outstanding racing career, his continuing service to the motorcycle industry and preserving the history of the sport, his commitment to the Trailblazers, and his drive, determination, and desire, the Trailblazers proudly present Don Emde with the Dick Hammer Award.